areas in the county and the city. But this is something that we're going to launch officially, and we're going to be doing this every month. First of all, I wanted to thank Leandro Torres and Torres family. Leandro has an incredible story here in Odessa and how he came to Odessa in this restaurant. And so we wanted to be able, all these coffee with the mayors and stuff like that we do, we're going to be doing it in local small businesses because that's what we want to promote. Leandro and the Torres family went through a very hard time through COVID. They're recovering from it, but they're an incredible family. They were very gracious to allow us to do this. So, make sure that, we patronize mom and pops and local because that's the money that stays here. There are several companies, several families that have restaurants, and we constantly are promoting that. The other one is that I want to be thankful because a lot of people within this room and outside have blessed our family with prayer. This last past week has been very difficult along with my father, but my son became very gravely ill. We had to life flight him to El Paso, Houston, and Austin, and he was in critical condition with a severe esophagus tear. By the time that we got him to medical attention, they did an endoscopy, and they gave him 3 options because as soon as they were going to do the prognosis on the severity of it, they were going to immediately do the procedure. When they did the endoscopy, the tear was completely healed. So that right there is the power of prayer because a lot of people in this community immediately started a prayer chain, and it was just incredible to get past that hurdle. He's now better, and we're hoping to be able to pick him up and drive him home this upcoming week as soon as they release him. Now, for that, start with the city. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of the community members for what the city and the transition it's going through. The employees have been incredible. They have been moving forward and have really come together to make sure that the city is operating and continue to operate and to up the level of service. And so let me tell you, the employees have been incredible. They've really just linked arms and have continued to show up to work and do what they need to do. We're looking forward. City Council is very determined to come together and push the city forward. You've been hearing me say that, how we want to grow the city as a whole. And so roughly about almost 2 years ago, we introduced a committee to the council that we wanted to address projects and needs and wants of what the community is. The thing is, there hasn't been an official survey done in the city of Odessa. It's been 12 years ago. So the thing is that outside of what we constantly hear that go around and hear the complaints of what the city is not addressing, we haven't really gotten a real assessment of what the community really wants. So we are in the works of creating up-to-date type of data on the link that we're going to improve on the city link to be able to start addressing that we're going to try to minimize at low cost to no cost. That's going to be the challenge, but oftentimes when you do a survey, it runs anywhere to $20,000 to $30,000. We're not going to do that. So we're going to be able to propose that because you request a survey, it's going to be sent out to you, you're going to fill it out, it's anonymous, but you can only do it once. So that way we're not stockpiling one person's survey and it's only doing a survey of one people. Sometimes those surveys have a flaw that way. So that committee is going to, we call it the quality of life, and we want to address immediately our needs, our roads, our infrastructure, our breaking and aging infrastructure. And so our water and our sewer. And so, but the roads are definitely a high priority. And then another one is that constantly we've been hearing since we've gotten into office is a sports complex. Now, an update on Floyd Gwynn. We've had a lot of delays with the contractor. This is Onyx. We constantly are pushing them to get this thing completed. They've had a lot of problems with subcontractors, especially in the irrigation. So the city staff is definitely on that. There's also been delays on the animal shelter. I requested update status yesterday, did not receive it, so we're waiting on what the status and why it's so overdrawn. I think that was a $6 to $8 million project. And so the thing is that the cost was enormous. And so we need to get that complete so we can get going with that. So we're trying to finish up those projects, and then we're going to move forward. We're going to do, I had requested analysis and a report on our recycling and the ability to continue to do recycling, since we know that India and China is no longer doing it. There has been a proposal this past former council wanted set aside $350,000 for a study, for a design to build a new building out there on 42nd. So I think we need to be able to really look at that, whether is it viable, are the citizens participating in recycling, and is it viable to continue to pour money into that where there is no cost benefit to the city, to the taxpayers, and even to the company that's doing it. So we're going to be bringing that forth for discussion on the work session and really do a deep dive and look at the validity of that. There are a huge amount of cost savings, and because it is a huge expense where we get no return on that. And so that, and I think that we need to even analyze that. Is there a return, and what's the cost, and what's the cost of doing the recyclables? I know that this age everybody wants to do recyclables, but from a business model, is it profitable or is it a drain? And we need to really do that deep analysis cost of that. And so this is something that we're also going to be bringing forward. One of the things is that I want to address some of the rumors, and I did this in a statement. There was there was rumors going around this community that I was interested in an appointment and a job within the city to become a city manager. At no time did I ever express wanting to work for the city, be the city manager. I have no desire. I'm going to continue to serve as the elected mayor. That's my commitment. It was a commitment that I made when I ran 2 years, and it's a commitment that I'm making for the next 2 years, and it's a commitment when I rerun. And so that right there, I just want to set that that rumor outside. At no time was that even posed. It never even entered my head, but it was being circulated out in the community for whatever reason, how that became a fruition and how it took legs, But one of the things is I'm going to be a very good steward of data. And so when I'm addressing it, I'm going to be whole confidentiality and confidentiality. I'm going to be respectful of people. I'm going to be respectful of people's their integrity, and going to hold that in high regard. So I'm not going to engage in rumor in your window. And so the thing is that when people ask me questions, I hold that wholeheartedly. And so there was questions about me hiding. There was questions about me being silent. Well, the thing is that I needed to make sure that when I did address the community, when I do an interview, that when I am speaking, it's based on facts. And I've always said this, there's always been a saying that we all are entitled to our opinion, but the thing is we're not all entitled to our own facts. Fact is a fact. And sometimes, for some, a fact is a nuisance. For the reason is that, the thing is it doesn't fit whatever people want to believe. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just going to forward what I know when I know it, and then I'll talk when I have it for me. And if I don't know, I will go out and find out. Today's exercise, I want to be able to speak with you. I wanted, I know there's going to be some questions. There are some things that I cannot speak about for the reason is that we have some ongoing litigation, and we need to be respectful of the process. In due time, we will complete those to a conclusions, and once we get to that conclusion, we'll be able to speak about it. But, you know, there's a lot of things going. There's a lot of transitions happening. I'm very excited about the transition. I made a commitment 2 years ago when I ran. I was asked a question at a debate, and and the question was this: what path will you take when it comes to assessing debt? Will you go the easy path and just issue a certificate of obligation, meaning that you issue debt and it is only on the vote on the dais, meaning the members of the majority of the council? That's the easy path. Or would you work to inform the community the necessity of the debt, depending on the projects, and go a bond issue? I said a bond issue for the reason is that as a citizen, I want to have a say. I know that a lot of people hear detractors saying debt and bond issue will never pass in Odessa, Texas, and they use an example of the school. When 2018, we as a community voted to indebt ourselves, and we upped the amount of what the school district could assess in maintenance and operation. We did that so we could set aside an X amount of dollars so we can continue the maintenance of our facilities, because we saw value in that. So I challenged that thought process. You have to bring a business model and a common sense approach to the citizens, but you have to work. You have to go out and you have to meet them. If it's 1 or 2 people show up, you constantly have to do it. If you have to have 100 meetings, that's the job. That's the job that we intake, and that's what we'll do. When we put together this Quality of Life Committee, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Councilman Mata has graciously stepped up, and he wants to lead one of the parts of the Quality of Life, but we're going to explain this to you, and then we're going to gather the data, and you're gonna let us know if this is the viable way to go. When it comes to a sports complex, what's the priority? Who here is still playing sports? Who here is still playing football or softball? Yeah, that's what I thought. But everybody in this room is going to be committed to pay for facilities you don't use, right? So the thing is, every aspect, we have the Association of Soccer. Oh, soccer's a priority. Baseball, that's a priority. Oh, volleyball, that's a priority. No walking trails are a priority. No, a bike trail. And so it goes on and on. So everybody has a priority. We can't build a facility that big. We can't afford it. And so we have to narrow down. And the thing is, what a trend is now may not be a trend tomorrow. And so it is difficult, but it's a process that's necessary for us to get the best value that we can. And we only can do that by going out and getting the data, by asking you, and it only works if you respond and give us the information back. Because I've been to a lot of these meetings. The last time that they did one for the feasibility study for the parks, there was I'd say at least minimum of 4 community town hall meetings. Me and my wife attended all of them. And so the one that was done on Woodson, on the south side, only 2 people showed up. The whole staff was there, the consultants were there, and only 2 people of the community showed up, my wife and myself. When they were going to cancel, I said, "Oh, no. You're having the presentation." Well, nobody showed up. 2 members of the community did. We're paying for this. We're going to have the show. And so we participated in it, and it's essential. You know, if it's one person, it's still, but the thing is that one lone voice can and potentially can commit the entire community. This is what we say: when you're issuing debt and we have less than 1% people show up to vote, that percentile that does vote commits 100% of the community to that financial commitment. That's how important it is to voice your voice with that vote. And so, you know, those are important things. And so, so that's what we're doing moving forward. There has been, let me assure you this, as of right now and continuing from the day that we stepped in, Council's been committed to making sure that we do an analysis across the board from every position in the city. That is important, is it vital, is it crucial? And none of them will be left unattended. So that's the commitment of the staff. And the thing is that every critical position that is either has a real person there or not needs to be analyzed. But the city is working and the city's functioning. One thing that we are going to look into, we had a consultant come in from California that did an analysis and wanted to do a charter change in how we pick up our trash. Now let me ask this question. How important is your trash pickup? I mean, is it a priority? I know it's for me. Is it a priority? Who wants their trash go from 2 days to 1? Who would accept that? No, I need to be, I mean, would you be okay with that? I'll tell you, I know I don't. And so we had an analysis where we're going to go from 2 days to 1 day, smaller container. Right now we have 1 container for every 4 houses. That was going to be reduced. And so as a council, we said, no. We don't want that. We have a hybrid system. We have the old system where you still go through the alley, right? Then we have another hybrid system where you have to roll the containers out to the front row, and that's in the newest part of the developments and housing. So that's a hybrid. So part of that study was smart routes. And so that's something that we're going to look at. I like the idea about a smart route. We also want to do an analysis for the reason is that if you look at all the apartments throughout the city, they're basically based as a residential, multifamily living. So the city picks those up and becomes a strain on the staff. So we requested, without any success, but now we're going to move forward with it, is an analysis of the viability of that. Do we increase the staff and the vehicles? That will be a good return of rate as far as revenue for the city, because it is a profitable department, but it's a strain. So do we continue the services that we're doing? Do we franchise it where they allow the apartment complexes to find their own vendor, but the city still receives money for the franchising as the city would approve it, or do we allow it to go completely private, freeing up equipment and personnel? Don't know yet. We don't know the viability. I had spoken to department heads. These were their recommendations. This is what these individuals in that department have done for X number of years, and said, hey, look, we need to address it. These are the ways we need to address it. And so they have a lot of ideas of how they can make their departments better. And that's the data that we've been gathering, and that's the analysis that we're going to go out, and this is how we're going to be helped out with. And so we're going to move with that, because let me tell you one of the things is trash service is important, because what we want to get to, back in the days, we used to have trash pickup. We used to have that flatbed come in, and you had the whole department go in through the neighborhood, and they would pick up all your bulk items. We changed that and converted it to a central part, so we would have a bulk pickup here at Floyd Gwynn. But here were the downfalls of that system. What about if you don't have the ability to transport your bulk items to the drop-off center? If you can't take it to the landfill and you can't take it to the time machine as a resident, it's free to you. How could you get it to the center? So we need to have a hybrid, and we need to be understanding of that not everybody has the capabilities to get that trash back. One of the things is that we all notice that our city needs to be cleaner. But the thing is that we need to make it revenue friendly. We need to make it low impact to the budget, because we still have to pay for it to be disposed of, even though it's at a lower rate. But we have to get back to that. We need to start cleaning up our city. I know it's a concern for us. I know it's a concern for me. We see it, We want to get back to that. And this is why we're taking that approach, and we're listening to the staff and say that they have a plan. This is how we can do it. But it's been stagnant. We've seen stagnation, and I keep saying it's 2 years. We've seen a stagnation in our city a lot longer than that. The functionality of our communities, our tax entities. We're having issues before COVID. Now we're having substantial issues after COVID. And the hospital, the schools, everybody, all of us, private industry, we're all struggling with finding people. And so there's analysis going to go through each department. Head has going through, and they're looking at all their departments. And so they're looking at critical positions that have existed. Are they still warranted? Are they still being utilized? Is it still needed? So one of the things is that here's an example. Who remembers the catastrophic event we just had last year? Everybody was affected. And you'll realize what I'm talking about. The water break. I too was concerned about that. And I was concerned when it happened, when we were notified, when it happened, when the plant went down. That's why we were present. We didn't leave. We were looking for places to shower too. And we were, let me tell you, that command center, you didn't want to be in there. But it was critical. Two things that as a city, as a council, and as a day-to-day leadership, two things are critical to keep in mind on a day-to-day basis. The solvency of the city and that budget, and the city's ability to respond to a catastrophic event, whatever that catastrophic event could be. We've lived through some very biblical times. 2 years of COVID, 21 was worse than 20. We were involved in that. We did the vaccinations, mass vaccinations. We had to organize that and supervise that. We went through the snowvid, through the break. These were critical events. We responded well, but there were anomalies within those responses that needed to be addressed. Are we prepared? I spoke with Tatum yesterday, had to sign off some documents. I'm asking, and they're in the works now, and requesting, and it's going to happen. We're going to get a liaison. There's already one in Howard County. We're going to get one, God willing, in Ector County. Will constantly presence here in Ector County will be a liaison to Tatum. And this is the Texas Emergency Management Division, or the Division of Management. This is who helps us in those type of times. We need that liaison. It's more critical for the Council of Governments is that our staff, our leadership, mayor and the council, because the mayor is the emergency management coordinator. Now notice I'm saying the mayor, the office, not me, the office. So as this rotates to someone else, it is critical that it sets up that they know the role in a catastrophic event, in an emergency, and what they're supposed to do. If we're not trained to do that, we can't respond accordingly. In a catastrophic event, time is necessary. But the biggest thing is communication. Dude Speed says there's 3 C's. There is communication, and then there's cooperation, and there needs to be a commitment to that. Well, the other 2 can't happen if you don't have communication. Communication is key, and it's essential, and it has to be timely. And so everybody can do an inventory when you found out what was really happening. And so that's something that's always it stayed in my mind. From the time that we had the break to the time we communicated, it was communicated to the citizens. Could that response time be better, faster, quicker? That way people can be prepared. Because one of the things is that if you go out in the community, and I've asked, how did you respond? What happened? What did you do? We're West Texans. The biggest thing about us is our friendliness. as what everybody in the world notices. When I spoke to the mayor of Odessa, Ukraine, talked to the parliament, when people come and visit, did an interview with the New York Times, they come in here and they said, man, the people are friendly. I said, that's our DNA. COVID changed us because now we're playing rock, paper, scissors. We don't know we're going in for a handshake, a fist bump, an elbow, or a hug. So we should have a tournament for that because we'd be able to compete. But we're huggers. But when the time gets tough, we roll up our sleeves and we help each other. We don't ask. It's just in our DNA. And so the thing is that we were able to get through it because the cooperation of this community. When we were out there giving water, nobody complained. They were just being thankful. And they were being cooperative. They were willing to ration themselves. There was no mad rush. And so because of that, today when Midland had their break, Mayor Payton called us. We quickly responded as emergency management coordinator. We coordinated, responded. We gave them all the water they needed. Says, whatever you need, our resources available. We've been through this. And so that's what happened. They replenished our supplies. Now we're ready for the next one. What, God willing, doesn't happen in Odessa or anybody else, but if there are, Andrews, Kermit, Monahans, Crane, anybody can respond to us. We respond to 19 counties. Odessa is the epicenter of the medical, emergency management coordination. We do it all. So it's not just about Odessa, it's about the entire Permian Basin. And we're the hub of it. And that's our responsibility, and we take it very serious. So a deep analysis for us, we're going to look into creating, well, not creating, but analyze whether we need to have a standalone emergency management coordinator position. Now, this isn't a budget impact because once we do the analysis through the departments and realize what positions have gone for decades about ever being filled and it's just being budgeted, can those resources be turned in to fill positions that are critical to bringing Odessa out of 1980s and into the new millennium? We have a business model that's failing and needs to be modernized. And that's how we're going to go through the analysis. We're going to modernize our city. We're going to make it smart. We're going to make it lean. Because one of the things is every community, every business, whether they want to admit or not, operates at a deficit when it comes to real people in those positions. The city's no different. We're going to analyze what our average recidivism rate is, meaning that are we operating at a 20%, 10, 15, 20, 25% of positions that have constantly never been filled? We don't know because we've never done this. We've never done a deep dive. But the thing is, here's the thing, that our departments, our personnel have constantly done the job with these deficiencies, and they've done excellent job. And that's why it's critical for us to be able to give them the monetary help that they need. Yesterday I was given some good news as I tried to take 5 minutes for myself, and I got 2 minutes. And a mom came up to me and says, hey, I just want to can you please relay this to the city council and everybody at the city? And I want to say thank you for helping the firefighters. I said, my son's a firefighter, just become a firefighter. And because of the increase, they now have hope and made a decision to stay in Odessa because they were going to move away. And because of that, they're in the process and now applied to buy a house. It caught me off surprise because I didn't think about it that way. And so you don't hear those stories. You're not going to see that printed anywhere else. You're going to see the negative, but there's a lot of positives, and it all goes hand in hand. And I understand. And I'm not being critical. I'm just being realistic here. This is the world in which we live in. We thrive on on what it is that interests us, what is it that grabs us, what is it, what the headlines are. But the thing is that there are a lot of positives out here. We got a lot of good people. and they want to stay. They want to be committed to West Texas. They want to continue to work. So these are the good things that are happening. Very excited. We know we're constantly, let me just say this. The city's open, the city's running. You flip up that tap, the water's flowing. And I've always said there's good news and bad news about Odessa water. You know, the good news, that when you open that tap, water comes out of it. The bad news, it doesn't taste all that great. And so, you know, you hit the toilet, it disposes it, you call 911, someone's on the other side of the line, somebody will arrive. We still have issues, we'll continue to have issues, but we're addressing them. We support our police department. We constantly are, as a council, are backing them up with more technology. We always are going to work with the deficit in our police department. We're going to work very hard to continue to boost it. It's essential, but we're going to help them with the tools that they need to be able to oversee the safety and the welfare of our police. We say we back the blue, but we have to be able to back them, and also is to be able for them to be able to raise families. Going to launch an initiative. Just today, just this morning, I spoke with a private group that are going to lead an initiative, and they have their own timeline. So I can't give I don't know all those details because they're handling it. But today, we gave the green light to move forward. One of the things growing up here in Odessa, Texas, people that come here and move through here always give a negative view of Odessa. The one thing that really makes me mad, and it gets me my blood boiling, and I grew up with this saying, and it became infamous in the Friday Night Lights book and in the movie, and you guys will recognize it when you hear it. And it was said that, hey, when you come here, you raise a family in Midland, but you come to Odessa to raise hell. I never liked that. That's an insult to my parents, because God-fearing people, they raised a good family. I mean, I had as closest to Leave It to Beaver upbringing as you can get. Mom was always home, Dad worked, and when I woke up, Mom was there. I'd go to school, I'd walk 2 blocks to school, come back, Mom was there for lunch. I'd go back to school, come back after school, Mom was there. And so I rebuked that. If we continue to call and look at Odessa in the negative light, call it by its derogatory names, and you know what those are, we become the very thing that we spew. The tongue has the ability to build up and to tear down. And if we as native Odessans reinforce that, then that's what we become. So there's a group that they're going to get together. They made that commitment because they too not like it, and they're going to launch on their own time, their own dime, a positive message of reinforcement to us as Odessans to focus on who we are and the positives of who we are. And we're going to start grabbing, and we're going to start controlling our image instead of us being dictated to those that come from other parts of the country and the world. Because everybody, when they come in kicking and screaming. And they don't want to be here. But when they're leaving, they leave kicking and screaming because they love it here, and they love the people, and they love the friendship, and they love the harmony, and they love the people, and they love the family atmosphere. And that is right there the cornerstone of what I call America. When we have dignitaries come in, the first thing I tell them is, welcome to Odessa and welcome to America. The last vestiges of this country are right here in West Texas. We're a petroleum company. We're a leader in the entire world, and we need to be proud of that and not be apologetic. You know, I talked to Congressman Pfluger last night, and he gave me a call, and we had a talk. And it was just a friendly gesture. Through the budget, they're going to be moving a lot of their offices. So we're still going to have Congressman Pfluger's office here in Odessa, Texas, but they're going to move out of our government building. They're going to move into, I think, the county is what he said. He just wanted to informed me that that was going to happen. I said, great, I understand the facility in which you're in. You need better access, better friendly access. And so that gives us just more room for our personnel. It's not a net loss. It's a net gain because he's in the facility that the county can provide that gives him better visibility. And it's a safer, and it's better for his representatives, Monica. So really encourage that. I did convey some things to our congressman that we support. So we're petrochemicals, and this is why I brought it up, because this is a segue to it. I told him, I said, hey, I have a stove. We're in a kitchen remodel. I have the option for gas and stove in our kitchen, but we're going to keep our gas stove, and my lungs are fine. And as being a supporter of fossil fuels, I think West Texans can get behind that, and we're going to continue to use our gas stoves. I mean, we grew up in a generation where we had those little gas heaters. We used to put that little can of water. You remember that? We drank out of water hoses, not filtered water, bottled water. Look, man, we're doing great. We're doing great. You know, Mexican food really, bumps up the high blood pressure. But hey, you just balance it out. And so he kind of had a laugh about that. It's jokingly, but the thing is that one thing as West Texans, we got to realize, and it's a commitment from the city and it's a community, that there are forces and departments of the government that are being weaponized against our way of life. We're petrochemicals guys. I had a talk with a developer about a year ago, well, when we had the snow bed and all that, when we were going through that, and we had a real deep discussion. And he said that we needed to start pushing the city to be more friendly electricity, because that's the way you're going, and I don't deny that. The loss of fossil fuels can kill our community. We are dependent. We live and die by the ebb and flow of the boom and bust. And so all these departments are weaponized to our way of life. And so we need to continue to be vigilant, and we need to continue to participate. The challenge to the community that I'm asking and doing is that if you had the opportunity to serve on the board and failed to do so, now's the time. It's the time to serve on boards, where it's local, at the state or federal level. When you're asked, take the initiative to be on there so you can uphold those ideals. Because the thing is, we're all culpable. We're all culpable when we neglect. So that's why we have the government we have, because the government is responsible to those that are present, those that are stand and get in these boards. It's critical that we need more participation, not just the vote, but the participation in decision making and where those dollars go, both locally, state, and federal. It's all local. It starts right here. And so that is a renewed call again, that we have positions within the city. Fill out those applications, make yourself available, because that's where we need you. We need you present there. We are all constrained with time, but we make time for those things that are important to us. This needs to be important, because if people, let me just, there's a saying that a friend of mine always says, is that if you're righteous, you must serve, because if you're not, you will be ruled. And so people will make those decisions for you. And so you need to be present. We all need to be present. We're present in our lives. We need to be present in our government. And we need to be responsive. That's our responsibility. Because we're always talking about what we're going to leave for the next generation. Well, let me put it this way. Everybody, would you allow somebody else to raise your kids? Because if you do that, they're going to raise them with their ideals and their principles. So if you have a child and you give it to your neighbor whose principles are going to be different, when they give you that child back as a teenager, you go, well, I don't like how you raised them. Well, it was your fault. You gave them away. Are we doing that with our communities? And so these are things that are important. They're idealistic, but this is the reality in which we live in. The world has shrunk. And so Washington is ever present, the state's ever present. And so the last vestige is we as a community need to control our narrative and what we want to see Odessa be. And so, like I said, it's idealistic. Some and most won't agree, and it's okay. One of the things is that I want to be able is that address this whole narrative about me being a bully. There's an old adage down in South Texas that in politics you're either being bullied or bullied. I didn't create that. But there's a narrative kept touching that I cut people off, things of that nature, stuff like that. That's not true. When you're speaking and you're addressing, I've asked for people to be cordial, to respect the rules of the chamber. And people have been outright just derogatory. I don't respond in that way. I've been insulted, I've been called racial slurs all the time. If anybody says that being called a coconut is not a racial slur, I challenge you to put in that and what that means. I know what that means. And I've been called worse. And I've been called worse by people that look just like me. It doesn't offend me because they have to own that. My dad was born in 1930. And my dad's always says this: you don't think that I went through some indignation? My grandfather was built in 1900. But the thing is my parents never talked about it. And they never used it, and they never used it as a crutch. This is what my daddy would be able to tell you. Well, there was an incident in Odessa, Texas, where a gentleman wound up dying in the custody of the Ector County Sheriff's Office. I think it was in Ector County. But I knew that he wound up being restrained, and he said that he beat himself against the wall. He had to be, but the cell was padded. Semantics. You can read the case. I remember people coming over to my dad. My dad owned a gas station, and they wanted my dad to get involved, and they wanted to rally and go down and go protest and everything. My dad said, "Nope, I'm not going to do that. You guys go do that." He goes, "Well, how are you going to respond?" I said, "I'm going to the ballot box." I said, "Because that's where you make the change." While you're marching, and there'll be hundreds marching down whatever avenue you're going to go out there and protest. While you're doing that, I'll be the sole person sitting there at the ballot box making my voice heard. That's the wisdom of my parents. And they're Democrats. And so I always remembered that and still hold that value today, as we all should. And so I challenge when I'm being accused of, this is what the mayor does, this is what the mayor does, especially by those that used to sit on the dais and give their opinion instead of facts. Just go back and show me the incidents where I cut people off. I allow people, and this is an opinion and an assumption, that whatever they're saying, I was completely opposed of. I never expressed either way. I let people go if they have something pertinent to say, if they have validity and something concrete and structured and informative, then I give them the extra time. It wasn't my decision whether I agreed with that narrative or not. But when you're just sitting there yelling and making accusations and pointing just for the sake of just being disruptive, we don't need that disruption. We need structure. And that's when I hold the line on the 3 minutes. But I try to do it, and I believe that I do a very good job of staying centered, staying present, and being receptive of what they have to say. And they have that right. I've always asked my council to bring their personalities, to be who they are. I don't ask people to follow me. I've been married for 41 years. You think my wife conforms to what I want to do and everything? Heck no. She's figured out a long time ago, I'm not that guy. I sold myself to her. And she's still sticking around, and she's still staying around. That completely false. I'm not asking for yes people. I've never asked for a person to be yes people. I ask them to be who they are and to bring their talents and to stand their ground and to fight for their point and do it with logic, not emotion. Logic and facts, scripture and verse. And when I'm presented with the facts, scripture and verse and the law, I said, okay, I conform and I follow that. So the thing is that the people that are saying those things have forgotten that those are things that I've talked about, and they do realize, but they failed to communicate that. And it's okay. Because once again, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but not to their own facts. So we got 15 minutes. So guys, I've spoke enough. Open it up to questions. Any questions? And I will try to answer them as best as possible.
I'm late, but...
No, you're fine. You're on time.
I'm late.
What's your name?
Paulina.
Nice to meet you, Paulina.
You told me when you were being elected to become mayor, you said Democrats don't vote for Republicans. And I told you, I'm a Democrat and I'm going to vote for you.
I appreciate you.
And I told you right then and there, you're going to win.
Yes.
And I told you a few things that I thought that maybe the city should try to get involved with the school district and maybe also with the courthouse. So we spend money, and I told you why isn't the city and the school district trying to set up something where, as parents, and this was previous to COVID because I've spoken to the school district also, why can't we do where more parents go visit the schools? Well, COVID came, and guess what? Parents had to help out with their children with school. But why the school and the school district, the city of Odessa and the school district should set up some kind of program where, as parents, and I don't have school children any longer, but we set up where we may see something that we don't like in our city, and we volunteer and we go paint, or we may just clean it up so it looks nicer. Things that we have been or should be doing, volunteering. Mm-hmm. Now, the city, why can't the city ask the courthouse? You take money from people that have citations for the one of the programs for domestic violence. Why can't you set up a program where they take $30 so it goes towards the city so we can paint a building or remodel something that doesn't look good in our city? Because only the same side of town keeps getting fixed, not the rest of the town.
No.
And we all pay taxes. It doesn't matter where we live.
You're absolutely right. Yes, so even before we wind up getting on council, and it started back in the 90s, and working with all the entities. Did talk to Dr. Murray. We actually talked, in the 90s, we actually tried to consolidate a lot of city and school facilities. Sports complex was definitely one, because the school district has a bus barn and a maintenance program. The city has one, so there's duplication, right? Two different entities, one taxpayer. So the 90s was really about bringing things together. Now, we have done some things. One of the things that we wanted to be able to build a metropolitan park together, but it failed because of the politics. Now, I'm not going to point any people out because they passed, and to respect that. But it failed because there was an adage of one side of the community versus the other. Dr. Mary Reed, last year we kind of spoke briefly about what the city looked into taking some, or looking at some of the school grounds as parks. I said, very interesting, I'd like to look into that, the validity of that, because you don't have to purchase land. And so I didn't go any further than that. I tried to put it on discuss it with the leadership, and at that time, and it just kept being put on the wayside, and we haven't revisited. When it's going back to talking to the county about sharing revenue, that becomes a subject. Nobody wants to give up the revenue. I have spoken to the past county attorney, and now, the past county judge, but now with our new county judge. I don't know where they're at as far as wanting to build a new courthouse. And so I presented some ideas that I think that are very unique, that would be zero impact to our budget and their budget, and trying to work those little things out, because as a city, we're working with a deficiency when it comes to employees. So we want to be able to kind of get more into technology, like a kiosk. Look, if you go to the city, you have an option that you can go pay your water bill in a kiosk outside. Now, people like my dad still walk up and still want to pay it live. So we're always having a huge turnaround in our tellers. So that's what I mean. Can we go to more kiosks? Can we wind up using the mall, something on the west side and the south side, where if I have to pay my bill, I don't have to drive and I can go to this kiosk? Everybody says, well, you know, there's going to be a segment of the community they're never going to be able to use it. Then we're going to have to learn. We can't use that as an excuse, because we have to become more efficient. I like the idea about how we wind up, but here's the thing is with any program, like in this example, if we were to come together with the city and the county, and we were to be able to take fees from those that are being sentenced or pay restitution, and we take that portion and we create a government program to go out there and start painting private buildings and facilities, eventually what's going to happen is we're going to start redirecting tax dollars and make that program bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, back in the 90s, it was thought of, I don't know if you recall, it's CDBG, Community Development Block Grants. The city used to get in excess of $3 million. The Whitley subdivision was built over there where Black Shear Stadium was. You remember that? That used to be Black Shear, and all Del Rio and all that was just... Okay, so all that used to be just fields. So there was a program where the city got involved and built the infrastructure. It became its own developer, and they built all that out. And in hopes that that was going to continue throughout the south side. There was a member of the council at that time that wanted to come up with a program and said, okay, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to go in there and we're going to buy paint rollers, paint supplies, paint, and we're going to give them all free to all the residents. And what they're going to do is they're going to paint all their houses. So kind of we're going to keep up with the Joneses. And then we were going to build all these public restrooms, and we're going to have them throughout the city. Well, that did happen. You know where it happened? San Francisco. Look what San Francisco looks like. Look what Austin looks like. Look what LA looks like. I opposed it for the reason is that, well, yes, ma'am.
I don't say that we hand it out. I'm telling you, if we have Crime Stoppers, we have that
We do.
domestic violence programs that they take money from the person that has those citations, they have those whatever misdemeanors.
Yeah.
Why can't you build one that is just for this? And let's say even if the city would agree, or the county would agree, or the state.
So something like what we do with the teen court,
Yes.
where we combine and they go out there and clean and clean.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it looks like you got a committee member here. Mark took off, and so if you can help us with that idea.
I told you last time, but also, why do we have to look for a different place to put the library? Why can't you, where the parking lot is, why don't you just build there?
That's
and
not-
chair
that-
on the other
that-
side?
yeah, that's
That
not-
makes more sense.
that's
because
not-
people go downtown.
Well, that's not to say that's not us. That's the
No,
county.
That's the county, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, bring that up. Does that not make more sense?
Well,
Where the parking lot is, just build there.
You're talking about where the library is now.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Build on the opposite side. You don't have to change the address, it's still there. And then where the parking lot is, just build the parking lot there where the building is located.
Yeah.
That
Instead of
makes
moving
more-
it over there
Why are
by.
we gonna move? Look what happened to Midland. They tore down their courthouse and everything's everywhere and it makes no sense. Why are we gonna tear down?
Yeah.
Can't we have a temporary until we build up if that's what we're planning?
It's a good idea. A good idea. I'll pass that message along to. I don't even know who all on that committee is.
I don't know who they are,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, this is, people need to voice that part. I mean, that makes no sense. Why are we gonna rebuild something? You have the space, just build on the opposite side, and let's go from there.
That's a good idea. I don't.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that it's worth go talk to them. I'll pass that message along and see if it doesn't fall on deaf ears. But it's a good idea. I know there's been a lot of ideas passed around as far as what that facility is, whether tear it down, build apartments for the medical personnel. There's been a lot going around, so I don't know. I mean, I've not been informed. I don't know what their discussions are. I don't even know what the status are and where they're at with it, but all I've heard is that they're looking at that space west of the new space for OC in their park. And so, and that's about it. I think they've hired a designer or an architect. I'm not sure, but I haven't really kept up with it. Nobody's informed me about that. And I want to finish with any other questions? Yes, ma'am. We're gonna wait for the media. After we're done, we'll do that for the media. Go ahead, man.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions and comments.
Okay.
One of my questions is, the reason I'm staying here because I don't have time to go to the meetings that you guys have, the council meetings in the mornings, because I work early, right? Mm-hmm. But I've always had a concern that for the last 10, 15 years from West Loop 338 to where 2nd and 8th Street meet, there is no restaurant, no convenience store, nothing. And if there was anything there, the business is there because in the morning there's the traffic, as everybody knows the traffic, you know. But no, if somebody wants something, to stop or something on the way to work, we have to travel like 5, 10 miles out of our way to go get us a simple burrito, you know, or whatever, you know. But there's nothing, you know, and everybody knows it from West Loop 238 all the way over there to Reed Street or where 2nd and 8th Street meet. There's no kind of businesses, you know.
Yeah.
Businesses
Retail.
You know, businesses are not drawn to this area, you know. We have to travel, you know, we in this area have to travel all the way, you know, across town to get us a simple pair of shoes or, you know, anything, really, any kind of business. And my other comment is, I'm sorry, I'm coming out in both of them.
No, you're good.
It's, the south side never gets looked at either by businesses, you know. Like a simple Sunny that they would throw over there, or IHOP, or anything, you know. But I've never seen anything being pushed over there. All we see on the south side is they see a clean lot, they clean it up, and they start parking their trucks there. That's all you see.
Right.
That's all you see, and you know.
No.
I mean,
Well, let me address the issue because Mark actually addressed that issue and we talked about it at council. One of the problems is there was an ordinance passed as far as the 18-wheelers, the water trucks and stuff coming into the city and tearing them up. We have an ordinance for that to be able to pull them over, and we try to do it. These residents live in town in apartments. They're transitional. Some are more permanent. My dad's neighbor, he has 2 trucks. He has those issues of where to park his vehicles. He tries to do it at the truck stop, but his stuff gets stolen, you know, hoses, things of that nature. He was actually caught parking in an easement in a city park, and so it's a $500 fine. And so he's like, "Hey, can you help me?" Hey, you know, he goes, "I'll do a deal, man. You know, I'll give you a lease program. Just give me a space." I said, "It doesn't work that way." And so it is an issue. Mr. Mata also addressed right there when está la bodega on Grant and Clements, right there behind when they were parking. Mr. Mata did address that issue with the former leadership. Try to come up with some policies to be able to enforce that. They needed to be paved because there's holes everywhere and everything, and basically they just told him he had to suck it up. And so there was just no working going forward to buy, but you know, because it's an issue. It is an issue, and it's an issue everywhere. So the thing is everybody's finding ways and easements, so we're constantly reacting to it, and we're in a reactory, so we're going to start pushing to be proactive to start addressing the truck issue. The ordinances, as far as applying the ordinances and the ticketing, we need people to call the city and say, "Hey, these trucks are parked over here on an easement," because sometimes they park and they block your view when you're getting out to the street. We had some of those issues over here on 2nd and Texas Street, and so, like I said, we're being reactive. So we're aware. You're right. 2nd Street from 338 all the way up to that, there isn't. So there used to be a reinvestment zone where we are encouraging businesses to take advantage of abatements. Everything, when the car dealerships moved I then at that time addressed it that this would kill retail along 2nd Street and it'll become abandoned. And they said, no, it's not gonna happen. Sure enough, it happened. We wind up at that time, and yesterday I was informed by someone who used to be on the ODC, because he said he wants water and sewer services outside of the city because he's in the ETJ. He says, why can't I get these services from ODC for retail? I said, because it doesn't qualify. Well, so I give them away when I was on the ODC. I said, well, wow, I did not know that, but now I'm going to look into it. And so the thing is that there were many plans, both local and federal, to be able to help that reinvestment. But the cost of building, and this is an example. South Dixie, Murphy Street, where the old Zodiac is, where the cemeteries are, remember that? Remember we have that little flare out at the light with Murphy and Dixie? Remember that street used to come straight and it was unprotected left, and we used to have a lot of wrecks? So that was shut down. That wasn't the council, but it was shut down. So this was someone saying, this is what I want. I want to be able to develop that whole area, bring in businesses. We'll either give them the property fee, forgive the taxes, or give them a 380 sales tax, meaning that for 10 years, 20 years, you get to keep your sales tax to be able to repay yourself for the capital improvements. The city can't push and tell people where to build, but you can incentivize and encourage movement. The developers came back, and I myself, when I got involved in it, I brought in some developers and said, what can you do with it? You know, you tell me what you see. You're the expert here. He says, it's real simple. I said, it costs me the same square footage to build here in this part of town versus this part of town. It's the same cost. Land, infrastructure, water taps, everything, same cost. The problem is the return on investment, meaning that I have to charge lower rent here versus higher rent here, so I recoup my investment and profit quicker than I would here if I recouped it. That right there is where developers are choosing not to. We reached out and talked to United when we were doing the COVID shots, and United reached out to me, United Markets, and says, hey, Mayor, we want to be able to provide COVID shots for our residents. And so we made that happen. On the backside, I asked, hey, what's your expansion program? What does that look like? What are you guys looking? He goes, man, great that you asked. We want to come and expand our supermarkets in the Odessa market. Perfect. Let's sit down and talk, because I want you to look at other parts. Because I asked, I said, what are you looking at? Well, I'm looking at this part of town. I'm looking at this part of town. Opposite of where you're talking about. I said, well, why can't you address this part of town and this part of town? So we drove him around, showed him. City of Odessa has how many acres over there on Dixie, South Dixie and Service Road?
So around the south side, from Dixie down to all the way south, we have about 100 acres of city-owned property.
Yes.
That for the past 25 years has never been developed. It's just sitting there, just collecting trash.
So we propose those. We propose many of our sites for a supermarket. You know, they have their own plan. And so we haven't given up. And they didn't say no, they didn't say yes. I know Mr. Mata's been working for Porter's.
On that subject, I wanted to address this with you that, as the mayor said, we haven't given up on that. Here recently, I tasked the ODC to reach out to some supermarkets, and we're visiting right now with 3 potential supermarkets, seeing which one makes more sense for them to come in to use some of that property that the city owns and make something out of it. The talks are they're going in the right direction. I'll just say that. So we'll go with that. And I've also met with some investors about putting in a little shopping center down in the south side. That would include maybe like a little Caesars. That would include some kind of fast food restaurant there. That's one thing that I heard about from some citizens down there, that they really want that. They really want something that they can go quickly and get some food. I mean, they want some different options. So that's something that we are working on, and hopefully in the future that'll be more concrete, and I'll be able to share more information about that. But we are listening.
I mean, because all we got on the south side right now is a Dairy Queen and.
I hear you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
You want a stage or
You know, we live,
hey, you better drive.
Yeah,
I lived
yeah.
on Fall for the longest time, right
Yeah.
there across the street from Hector. And that was our biggest deal. We wanted to go out to eat. We don't always have to take 15-minute drives to the opposite end of town to go have something. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
So we've been working on it since day one, and we have not stopped. And so we're addressing it. We're addressing it.
There's a lot of land. In this area that I pointed out, there's a lot of land there that they're sitting there like.
Well, you know, and the thing is that one of the biggest talks about when I wind up being very criticized, you know, for saying, hey, I took a vacation to Mexico. Look, I'm still talking to that company. You know, their concept is, and these guys are right. And I just wind up talking to Jose Lopez about this again, and so they're working on their finances. So we showed them property off of 191 and the new Padre connection. We showed them property over there off of 338 and the interstate. There's another guy that out there. I wish I could talk about it, but I talked to him yesterday. They're looking at a 40 acre development, a major corporation that wants to bring in some type of retail. But the thing is, the challenge is over here is that the infrastructure, they don't have the water and sewer. And so, so how do we get around that? Because we're not going, the ODC is prohibited to supply. They can fund infrastructure if it has to do with their criteria. Transportation, warehousing, manufacturing. But they can't do it for retail. Cannot do it for retail. Can't do it for parks. You know, and that's one of the criticisms that Midland Development Corporation gave $10 million to Hogan. Well, why can't Odessa do that? Because can't do it. We did check with legal and outside counsel, and they showed us the path that how they do it, and we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it because it's not legal, and so we have to find other ways. But we are working on it because there is a lot of land availability around Interstate 338, the old Murphy, I mean, all that right there, 1936 and everything. There is a lot of land available, and the people are looking at it. It's the infrastructure portion, the high cost, because it says, well, we have the line to Hollyburn. It's too small for what they want, and we have to go bigger, so we have to build another line. So this is something that we look at, and then but we're working on it, and we haven't stopped, and we still continue it. We have meetings on it constantly, and people are bringing a lot of great ideas. And once it starts, you know, we're still looking at the inland port. Inland port meaning is that we're bringing products from the Midwest west to California. This will be a stop off. A couple of weeks ago, met with the team. They put the team together. They have a team in Odessa now. They're working, they're analyzing, they're looking at properties, they're moving. So they're very excited about it. They got investors from Florida, things of that nature. And so they continue to update us, and we're just waiting to see when. We're here to support them, to hope they make this happen. But the imagination of bringing in products from the Midwest, off the Gulf, from around the world, on direct through train, and be loaded off here, put on trucks, and distributed it out through West Texas, because we use a lot of chemicals. That's all they're trying to accomplish. It's a game changer for our area. And so, but once again, it's their model. We're just here to support, and we keep waiting for that to happen. But they are working, they haven't gone away. This was when we met with the Palenquemes people down in New Orleans, and so they're constantly, like I said, we met right after Thanksgiving, and then we met right before Christmas. And so I got a call a couple of weeks ago that they put their team together, and now they're making an announcement. We've sent them a lot of data. We've sent them a lot of land and all the specifications, and so yeah, they're excited. But you know, they've been here. They've done physical visits. They've looked at it, and so this is the last communication. It says, "Man, thank you for everything you guys are doing. We're excited. we really are working hard. We want to pull through for Odessa. And so, you know, I'm encouraged by that, but actions speak louder than words. And so this stuff, this is how it moves. Sometimes I get impatient. I just want it to be a reality, but you know, it's their money, their investment, and their timeline. But they're still keep coming back, and they're doing their due diligence about Odessa, and that would help a lot of supportive industry. We need an anchor that basically anchors neighborhoods, and that's what we need. And so we've now gone forward. We're going to build 1,000 houses north of 100th Street. That is now reality. We'll start seeing some progress with the county. We're trying to work out schedules that will have some type of a meeting together. Schedules are hard. We got new elected people that are going through training, so we're waiting on their schedules. So we're working on that. I'll finish up with that. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
You drive around the city of Odessa.
Yes, sir.
You see a lot of boarded up houses, buildings, some of them dilapidated. If the city is not collecting any tax whatsoever off those properties, can they not go in and claim eminent domain, demolish the building, then sell the land to offset the cost of the demolition?
Well, we try to refrain from the eminent domain. We really try to do that. So what we wind up doing, because we wind up using the federal dollars through the CDBG, through the HUD program, we have a schedule and we have a set amount that we do, but we also got to send out a lot of notifications. And so we have a lot of absent owners, and when they do come in, we have to give them a hearing. So we have a statutory responsibility to help them and allow them enough time and ample time to rectify the situation. And then they send in an appeal, they go before a board, and then by the time that we have enough items on the agenda, bless you, and so then to be able to have a meeting, and then the board will look at it and they'll make that determination with the board of survey, and 6 months can go by, a year can go by, and then something that's been around, I ask that same question. What we do oftentimes is emergency. There was somewhere around the Buffalo Wallow areas, west of there, south of 42nd, residents said, hey, there's this house, there's a duplex that's been burned, it's been open. Okay, didn't realize it. Called and sent an email to Marita Sandoval in CDBG or the HUD program and asked her, hey, there's an address, and a resident gave me this resident burned down its unsafe structure. She goes, yes, sir, we'll look at it, we'll make an analysis, and so they boarded it up. People out in California. Now she starts the process of, well, you can't leave it like that. So first, the process is make sure it's secure. Then there's a process, if you go down there, about tearing it down. That becomes very tricky because now you're getting into personal property and it becomes statutory. There are limiting that we can do, but we got to give them ample time to be able to rectify. That's where the bureaucracy comes in. Because if you recognize, and everybody will recognize on the south side, you go down to the south side, right? And right there where the old Clover House is, where Kiker has, okay, yeah, where the old Pioneer was, right? Okay, right next door, I think it's the Watkins that has that house. They've been there for a long time, and it has those apartments complex. Well, all that was unsecured. So we have a facility that became, yes, and so the thing is, there's a lot of drug traffic, a lot of drug use and everything. And I said, you know, we have an unsafe structure. We have a facility that's in danger because, and I can't say what that facility does, and because there's confidentiality, but I know exactly what it does. We have people coming in and out that became, it's a risk. And so it was in that emergency, city services went in there and mowed everything down, cleaned it up, boarded it up, secured it, and we send them a bill. So.
Did they pay it?
That's the other question. When they don't pay it, then we gotta find someone to make it do, because we have to get a collector to try to get paid. These are the realities that we have. You know, when we have people that can say, hey, I'm going to pay property taxes versus a fee, if we source that out to a third party, there's no hammer. A vendor can send you a notification of And we can't cancel it. There's nothing to cancel. So that becomes there's no enforcement mechanism built into that. And that's so people, they just ignore it. And
Well,
so
that'd make our city look a lot better if we get rid of some of the old buildings.
that's why we're going to address it
Is what it is, I guess.
but we're going to work on addressing it. We just have to realize what we have as leverage. And so, but we are looking at that. Yes, ma'am.
Does the city tell that person or that property owner ahead of time, this is the fee? Because I know Monaghan's does. We had a property in Monaghan's, and if we didn't keep up, they
Yeah.
tell us this is the fee. It's your choice if you're gonna pay the fee or if you're gonna have someone clean it. And we tell them, you know what, go ahead, here's the money, go ahead and clean it. Because we don't live there, but we'll pay for that, for you to go ahead and clean it.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna pay that fee.
Yeah, we do. So the city sends out notifications, especially those that own lots and stuff like that. Yeah, they do get notifications. And so I've heard from some of those residents and some of our former city council members that have it, and they're pretty hot about it. They don't like it, and so they don't want to have to pay it. I said, well, everybody's equitable here. You have property, you got to keep it clean. And so those notifications do go out. I think it's code enforcement that sends those notifications, but they do go out, and they do notify them that if the city cleans it, they will be assessed this fee, and they're told about it.
Or we can ask, like I was just saying, if the city and the county could join, and if that could be part of their community hours, for us to use people to be able to clean or maintain something, just for extra help.
Well, you've got the city and the county cooperating on a lot of stuff, you know.
Well, I mean, we
yeah.
have to work together.
Yeah, we're
Apparently
trying.
We don't work together at
We're
all.
trying. Yeah, we're trying. That's why we're trying to get that meeting together so we can start that dialogue. And so I've asked for that meeting and been waiting for the new court to come in, and I'm waiting for them to get back with us with their schedule. But yeah, we're working on it because we want to start addressing those issues and start working together. And but to answer that question, we do send out those notifications, and the cost keeps going up. You know, fuel, manpower, things of that nature. And so the fortunate thing is that weeds don't need water to grow. They just grow for the sake of growing. So, and when we do get a little water, whoo, it just goes crazy. All right, guys, it's 10:15. I've got 2 other dates. I got to go pick up my granddaughter.
Where does the city stand on the contract negotiations with the recycling center?
Good question. So when that proposal came late last year to city council, I knew I wasn't aware of it in the negotiations. So this is what happened. This is what we were told. That the company was requesting the city of Odessa because so this is how it happened. So if you go around the city, we have all these yellow containers. And so they're in businesses. So people still throw their trash in there. We go by and we pick it up. Now, we're not charging those businesses for that. We pick it up. If I'm right, that's what I was told. We don't charge. We pick it up. We take it to our facility, the solid waste on 42nd. And there's a building, and I already toured it. I already went and looked at it. The staff walked me through it. He goes, we come through, we dump it, and you go in there, and it's raw garbage in there. Rats, dogs, cats. The building's even unsafe. It's uninhabitable. Roof is about to collapse. So BRI, I think that's who they are asking for the city to build a new facility. So former council put together $350,000 just for the design. Okay, this is not even the construction of it. So this building would be provided for this vendor. Now, they don't have the manpower to go through it, so they want the city to supply that. And they want the city to pick it up and dump it, and they want the facility, and they want the taxpayer to buy a compactor to compact these of whatever they're going to recycle. And then they sell off that product, whether it's cardboard or plastic. But we don't get a return investment. Our return investment is that we're keeping these recyclables out of the landfill. But there's no world market. The 2 countries that were in it was India and China. They pulled out. The contractor has said that there is no value in monetary and return on investment either to them or to the city. Because on top of that, they're going to charge us a monthly fee for them to do it, but yet we're doing all the heavy lifting. So this is why I want to see the validity whether we need to continue this. Midland doesn't recycle. In fact, the personnel within the solid waste say this is not a viable business plan. Why do we continue to want to invest in this when none of us are making money it's costing? So I asked, what should we do? He goes, so we were told there was like 92 containers, 72 containers, 72 or 92 containers. When I wind up talking to the staff, he says, no, sir, we have over 300 containers out there for recycling. What happens and why they become trash is if you throw one piece of trash, it becomes contaminated. It's no longer recyclable. So all it takes is one banana peel, one piece of paper and plastic and paper, they won't touch it. It becomes trash, so we're picking it up twice. We just lost money. So we're still paying for it. And so is it more viable to turn those yellow into brown and become revenues? And so we're still picking them up, but now we're making money. The thing is, well, it's going to cost to throw away. Yeah, but we're making money still versus, let me put it this way, we're making $10 versus zero. I'll take the 10. And so that's where we're at. These negotiations are happening. They have not included the council. The only reason I know that these negotiations are happening and we have not been informed is because the company that's doing the negotiation has included myself in the feed. And so I'm just reading what they're saying. But I finally just said, hey, we need to talk about this in public. This needs to go on a work session. We need to know and be updated on that status and what's going on. And that's what we need to do.
You know, if you're in a neighborhood that has the rollouts, those are not very big. We recycle so that we're not throwing so much stuff away.
It's still making its way into the landfill. I'm sorry to tell you, it's still getting there. I appreciate what you guys are doing, but it's still making its way into the landfill.
It would make the neighborhoods trashy though, because people are just flat ass lazy, pardon my French.
No, yeah.
There's a dumpster.
Yeah, trust me.
There it is. So again, we'll go back to the trashy looking neighborhood.
When the windy season comes in is when the plastic mesquite trees start blooming.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're like, oh man, yeah. No, I understand. And the thing is that do we go plastic? You know, do away with plastic bags? Would that solve it? Cities have tried to do it. It doesn't solve it.
And it'd be paper.
Yeah, it'd be paper. Yeah. So it's you go downtown. There's I do it at City Hall the other day. I was looking at like God Almighty, and they got on and they clean. I didn't ask. I didn't say anything, but I always kept noticing. And oh yeah. So the thing is, everybody's getting into gear. They're ramping up, and it looks good. But that's why we wanted to address the litter situation. And
I'd like to see it stay around personally. I mean, because we recycle. Have you ever driven by, like on a Monday morning, driven by there and see the mound of plastic stacked by that people's wall over there?
where at?
At the recycling center.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
It takes them 2 days at least to clean all that up and go through that.
Yeah. But because the thing
It's
is that
amazing.
we're paying a company to do it, and they're not doing it, and they're depending for the city to do it, and our people are out picking up trash. We're paying them to do it, and they're not doing it, and so they want us to supply the personnel. Then why do we even want them around? And so I don't know all the details of it.
Yeah.
That's why we need to put it on the on a work
there,
session.
This one here, he's got one in San Angelo as well, I think.
It may be. I've never even met the guy.
I hadn't either.
Yeah, all I see is his name on an email, and that's it. It seems like somebody else is doing all the negotiation, but nobody's talking to us.
Yeah.
And so, I don't have a grip of it. I'm trying to learn myself. Why is this viable? Because it costs us a lot of money. And the thing is that are we really having an impact, or would we have a better impact if we just treat it as trash and just throw it away and we start getting rid of this mess? I don't know, but we need to have a constructive dialogue to find out and get a handle of it and have a clear view what's the best direction to go in, and that's what we're going to try to do when we put it on a work session for discussion. You had the last question?
No, I was just going to say, try to pull down from the recycling program with the U.S. because they said we weren't doing our part and actually send them product that they could use. So that's why they stopped doing that with the U.S.
Yeah. It's just not, we like the idea, we just don't follow through. We're not in compliance. And there's a lot of things, you wind up having these programs that are around for decades and you don't even check to see if they're compliant, but they're still around and you still fund them and you still have them. And so the thing is, we've had the time machine, we've had this since the 80s. Is it still viable? Are we in compliance? Are we doing our due diligence? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? Because I will tell you one thing, it is impacting our budget. And so we need to start looking at what the validity of this. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and being present in your government. You guys, you can get a hold of me, and so, we're going to continue to do this. We're probably going to move the next one to. I'm going to ask Russ if we can do it at Chick-fil-A on 42nd. At one point, we'll do it at the market. Then we're going to try to find something in Central Odessa. I need to find something kind of big in Central Odessa. I'll ask Ms. Trina if we can do it at Margarita. Then we're going to be going over to 87th Street into Lawndale. Then we'll be going over to Parks. Is it? The Larry Bell? Parks Bell, we'll do it out there. And then we may do something in the county. We don't have any jurisdiction in the county, but I constantly being asked about the county and their game rooms. They want for me to address the game rooms. I said I sent all that data to the county. That's all I can do. So the status on the game rooms is, from what I understand, we are 0. So no more game rooms in Odessa, but we do have poker houses. I will leave you with this. A gentleman in Las Vegas got a hold of me, and he says he has these in Midland. He has 3 places in Midland that are poker places and restaurants or something, I don't know. He says he wants to bring a casino style type of poker barbecue in Odessa, Texas. And I said, that poker and Texas Hold'em and everything is illegal. You take a rake, it's illegal. He said, oh no, we don't take a rake, we rent out chairs. Wind up talking to some personnel. They said they know the individual, and he says, and I think they sent him a storm warning, don't show your face in here in Odessa, Texas. I did leave him with this. Send me your proposal, see what you got, but for the record, I will tell you this. I said, we don't want that type of business in Odessa, Texas. For the reason is because it's illegal. You want to go to Austin and change the rules and get the legislators to legalize gambling, then we'll look at a Caesars or something like that. But until then, until those rules are not changed, I'm going to oppose those things. And so I took that on by myself, believing that since the community was asking for the game rooms not to be there, I don't think we were going to be accepting of a poker / restaurant, things of that nature. So, he was very blatant. Oh yeah, man, this would be great for Odessa, and poker. And I was just surprised, and I was surprised, But he said, hey, I'm in Midland, and I'm out of Big Spring, but I'm in Vegas, and so that's the latest status on that. So that's where we're at. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming. I'm going to take care of these guys, and then I got to go pick up my granddog. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys ready?